everybody, and welcome to Bucs Bounty, the Pirates podcast, where, this is what we do. We talk Pirates baseball. We get you ready for the season, which is coming up very, very quickly. We're recording this video on Tuesday, March 3rd. Actually, currently, right now, the Pirates are playing against Team Columbia that's going to go join the WBC. The Pirates players who are in the WBC have left. They're all getting ready. Exciting stuff for everybody. And joining us today, our favorite person, probably on planet Earth. Michael McKenry is okay, but Rob King joins the show.
Man,
Rob King, man, the voice of the Steelers, the host of the pregame, postgame that we do. It's so funny being on this side of it, being the person who's going to ask the questions, because you're the point guard, you're the conductor, and you're so good at it. You've done it for so long.
So I'm not actually moving. I'm not moving closer to the camera. My head is getting bigger after this introduction by Stephen Brault. Yeah, good to be with you guys. How you guys doing? Everything good?
It's
really good. How about you,
ready, man? Getting ready for the season.
Yeah.
Everything's good. I'm getting ready for baseball. Just got back from the combine in Indianapolis. So the draft is looming in the future. The book, as you guys know, always joshing me about the book. The book keeping me busy. And Bucko baseball, man, the Pirates look fantastic this spring. Just great.
They do.
The
offense catching up to the pitching is cool.
And I'm going to talk a little bit of offense right now, Steven. I know I'm your favorite. You just had to throw it out there. It's okay. Kinger is our favorite. Kinger, we're going on year 9, brother. This year, going on year 9. I can't believe it. And right now, I have a hurt knee that started our entire journey in 2013. Same exact thing.
Are you walking right now?
I even have the same device right now.
Are you walking? Are you going to be walking? Are you going to be hobbling on crutches on day 1? What are you going to be doing?
I'm pimping, if you know what I mean. I just got.
I do. And that did start. Right. So Stephen, Michael was injured as a player and came in and got his debut with us as an injured player. And
I heard about that.
Now, another thing you might or might not know is that prior to that injury, and hopefully this didn't cause it, but I threw out the first pitch in a Pirates game.
It was.
And so I'd thrown it out twice. The first time was with Freddie Sanchez. And
nice.
Threw a nice strike, right? And then the second time, I said I would do it. They asked me in advance, and my shoulder was giving me problems. But as guys, we're always like,
I knew you'd laugh.
It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And then it didn't get better. And I kept not saying, hey, I can't really throw out the first pitch. And so it turned out that I had a partial tear in my rotator cuff, and I couldn't lift my arm above my shoulder. And I thought, what am I going to do? Seriously, like in half an hour, I'm throwing out the first pitch. What am I going to do? So Joe Klimchak, who is the in
Broadway Joe
house PNC Park
Broadway
announcer.
Joe, that's good.
By the way, never makes a mistake. Joe, stumble once in a while for the rest of us. Please, throw us a bone. So Joe said, hey, man, make it like an homage to Teak. He goes, can you throw sidearm? I said, I have no idea whether I can throw sidearm. So I got a 27 Teak jersey. I already had the Ray-Ban glasses. I got a pillbox hat. And I went out there and threw it. And I remember as I went on the field, I asked the players, hey, anybody got any advice for me? I've never thrown sidearm. And James McDonald said, don't cut it off. Throw through it. So then I go out to the mound and throw it, and it's way wide. But I did the whole Teak thing, got the Teak stance, and Teak was my partner at the time. Did the whole Teak thing. And Michael I threw it way up and away. No strike on the outside corner to Freddie Chan. This is a tough one. And Michael leapt up and big backhand grab and caught it and stopped the ignominious rolling the ball to the screen thing. So thank you, Michael, for that.
Wow. Yeah, nothing gets by us, Kinger. Yeah. Take care of your guys.
As I jogged back into the dugout, James McDonald looked at me, shook his head, and said, "You cut it off." He said more than that. He described how I cut it off, but I think we'll keep that. We'll keep that amongst ourselves. So that was, and then Michael hobbled in with a knee injury a couple years later, and began his broadcasting career.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me at all.
Injury. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
What,
it
that I
doesn't
caught
surprise
it?
me at
I
all
hope
that
not.
Michael went, yeah, he went full bore for that catch because still today in the
Absolutely.
studio,
Yeah.
if we're like doing it in between, we're getting over to the hub to do a
Yeah.
cool segment. Michael's just like gets in a catcher stance and just goes throw me the ball, but he doesn't want me to like throw him strikes. He wants me to pepper the ground so he can block it in his
Yeah.
suit. And you know
Yeah.
what? He
Yeah.
does a great job. It never
He's going to
ends.
be
Yeah.
doing that Tony Pena wide leg, because he's not going to be able to
100%.
bend his
Yeah.
knee, right? That's what
Yeah,
he's going to have to do.
100%. Not till June. So yeah, I'll be
All
hobbling
right.
a little. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Too
let's get
cool.
into this. Rob, look,
Oh, we're not
everybody
into it?
knows in
Okay.
exactly.
Sorry.
Everybody in
We had to
Pittsburgh
let your head
knows
decompress a
you
little bit,
as
Kinger.
yeah, they know you as the Pittsburgh guy because you've been doing this for 25 years now, been in Pittsburgh sports. But let's go back a little bit. I love to hear your stories from before because you have a very interesting career development path that I think people would really enjoy hearing about, just in case they haven't. You grew up in Cooperstown, New York. You went to Washington University in St. Louis. You played quarterback there. And
Mhm.
then you started your broadcasting there, but as a producer in St. Louis, and eventually went to on air when you started covering both Pittsburgh and St. Louis from St. Louis. So I need to hear how that even worked. Because
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me how you covered both teams on the same night. How did that work?
You
Yeah.
know he could
So
do
I
it,
was first of all,
right?
I was an English literature major in college. I'm not even sure you could do that anymore. And I think people that are my age that got into the business when I did, there weren't a lot of opportunities to get degrees. Syracuse had the stranglehold on it. There were very few places that had those degrees. Then I, like you said, I started as a producer. I just needed to start somewhere in TV when I decided that was going to be my path. And I've been on the air for a while. When I came here 26 years ago, 26 years ago. Wow, amazing.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
what
Wow.
they did was
How are you
Fox
only
Sports.
35, Kinger?
I know, amazing. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's incredible. Wow.
I don't know if
Proud
you
of
guys
you.
have noticed this, but I've started to color my hair gray.
That's nice.
I didn't know
You
you
got to
guys.
make people feel
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
yeah. Trying to make myself look more senior. Anyway, so Fox Sports was trying to compete with the regional the ESPN. I think basically was their idea. And what Fox had done was they had gobbled up all the local rights. So it used to be you'd have to know, okay, so North Carolina sports might be Jefferson Pilot, Atlanta was TBS, all these different stations around the country. You had to know. So when you showed highlights, you knew, hey, courtesy this or that. Well, then all of a sudden, as I started working in the late 1990s, you realize everything was Fox Sports Net, at Fox Sports Net, this Fox. So they had bought up a lot of the local rights to a lot of teams, and they wanted, I think, to build a national network around that. And so they had the idea first, and then they were going to build the studios afterwards. So they took places that had existing studios. So they had an existing studio in Pittsburgh, but they didn't have an existing studio in St. Louis. So they said, well, guess what? There's an hour time difference. So we can do these post game shows, change the signage on the set, change the anchors, and then turn around and do the next show. So you do the Pittsburgh show, then the St. Louis show, the Pittsburgh show, then the St. Louis show. So at the beginning, I was just doing St. Louis shows for the first several months. And then I started volunteering to do more Pittsburgh stuff. Now I'm starting to do maybe 2 St. Louis shows, 1 Pittsburgh show. Then it became a little more Pittsburgh, a little less St. Louis. Now, mixed into that, of course, is the fact that the Pirates are in the same division as the Cardinals. So they're playing, I
Right.
don't know, 15 times a year, you could say, well, you're off an hour earlier, but are you? And then there's lots of times where they start at the same time, right? They're in the same time zone. So it was confusing to say the least. It was interesting. There were times where I not too often, but times where I did four shows. So I filled in and did Sports Beat with Stan, or maybe early days I'd do it with Guy, or somebody else would come on and do it with me. Then you quickly flip over the set, and now after an hour of Sports Beat, you're doing a half an hour St. Louis show, and then you go back in, you watch the Pirates game and the Cardinals game, you do a half hour Pirates post game show, game ends, now they flip the signage, you do a half show, you do a St. Louis show. So I think of all the years we did that, which is 5 or 6 years, I think one time the shows were similarly named. Pittsburgh Sports Tonight and St. Louis Sports Report or something. There was times where I said Pittsburgh Sports Tonight Report I think I got that right. No, I probably didn't. And one time I said Rams quarterback Cordell Stewart. So I did. I will confess that I think every other time I was able to straighten it out. I think of our anchors. I think I was doing the most back and forth. So there were a slip up or two.
No.
But fun days. I mean, listen, man. Anytime you're doing what I'm doing, they're fun days.
Kinger, I think that bleeds into the question of, I feel like you're the calm and the chaos. You know, in live TV, one thing I didn't realize when I got into this is everything goes wrong all the time. So we have a plan. It's gotten a lot better over the years, but like we've done highlights with a black screen and you're literally getting it fed into your IFB. We've literally had the entire power go out in the North Shore. And then sumo wrestlers came on. How did you get that knack? Because like I know some people that are English literature majors. They're usually not as outgoing. They're not usually as adaptable, right? They're very logical. You kind of have a balance of both. And I feel like it really helps with the chaos and all the personalities you deal with, because that's probably the craziest thing. I mean, me and Steven are tough, but then you bring in Caps, you bring in Presley, you bring in KY. We're all just different. So how do you balance that?
Yeah.
How did you learn to do that?
I think there's three things at play. Okay. So the first is that I had experience in small markets doing this. I'll give you one example. I was on the road, like you talk about, doing highlights off of a black screen where we're not actually seeing the highlights. Okay. So, but we have to act like we're seeing the highlights because the person at home doesn't know we're not seeing them. So I was, and this is where, working in smaller markets and getting a start in smaller markets is really valuable to you. I was on the road doing Syracuse Crunch playoff hockey when I was working in Syracuse, and they were playing the Rochester Red Wings. I actually know it was the Rochester Americans at the time in the playoffs. And so cut the highlights, long highlights. We want to show our presence. So they're 2.5 minutes of highlights, probably, 15, 18 plays, whatever it is. So I get ready to go. I got my IFB in. I look down and I'm like, where's my monitor? Where's my playback monitor? Oh, we don't have a playback monitor. Well, how am I going to do the highlights?
What?
I don't have a playback monitor. So I had our producer, Anthony Calhoun, who's now, I just saw him at the Combine. He's at Wish TV in Indianapolis. Great guy. He just said in my ear, change. And I just did the highlights like that. Never saw him. So you have experience doing that. That's one thing. I think, so experience certainly helps. I think another thing is, playing sports my whole life helped, right? So if you are, let's say you're down a point, right? There's 0.6 seconds on the clock. You're at the free throw line and you're shooting a 1-and-1. What you don't want to think is, if I make these two, we win, right? That's not a good thought. Like, just like I'm Steven, if you're on the mound, I mean, if you're thinking, for me, it was always just think about the execution. What do you need to do? Bend your knees in front of the rim, release the free throw. Football, there's even less thinking, I think. Go through your progression, go through your reads, throw the ball. You can't break it down to, remember, left foot forward, right foot back, throw the football at your ear. You can't do that, but you can't be thinking,
they're trying
if I
to
throw this, we're going to win. That's a sure way to lose. So I think sports help me focus on what's important at the time. And then the third thing, as far as working with various people, that I think is important is you have to serve the show. I mean, that's, what's going to make everybody around you better. Like you used the word point guard before. I think that's an apt description of what somebody in my shoes is trying to do. If I'm working on local sports, which I did before, I'm the point guard, but I'm also the shooting guard. I'm the center. I'm the whole sports. If I'm out there, I'm going to give you my opinion and tell you what I think. And I've got guys that have their opinion. So how do I bring out the best in the people around me? I think serving the show, serving the people working with you, elevates the show, hopefully up, and brings out the best in everybody around you. So to answer your question, Michael, I think those are the three things that kind of lead into it.
I love it.
He got him, and he's done it again.
Welcome to Unobstructed Views.
We're at BP. We're going to get an inside look.
Once you start loving each other, you start fighting for each other.
Welcome to Coach's Corner. And he'll admire it, so will we.
Is that too much to ask for?
Oh, baby.
now that you've been in Pittsburgh sports for 25, 26 years, so right at the turn of the century, you came to Pittsburgh, right? And I read an article about you from
That made him
before
sound
you
really
got the
old.
Steelers job.
It does. Turn of the
Yeah,
century.
exactly.
Yeah.
Turn of the century.
And that you said when you came to Pittsburgh that you immediately just fell in love with it. It's your favorite place.
Yeah.
And since then we've talked about this, how much you love Pittsburgh. What is it about Pittsburgh that makes you so enamored with not only the city but the people and the sports and everything that goes in with it?
I think everything. I mean, I remember it was only a few months after I'd started working here. I remember, and again, I was working mostly St. Louis, and I love St. Louis. I mean, I lived in St. Louis in my early 20s and then worked there professionally. I mean, I might still know more people in St. Louis from living there for 7 years than I do for living 26 years in Pittsburgh, just because the time. And I love St. Louis. I think it's a great city. But there's just something about Pittsburgh. It's the people. I mean, yes, they love sports, but it's the type of people, no BS, friendly, a good mix. I've always thought Pittsburgh has the best characteristics of, say, what you think of as a Northeasterner and what you think of as the best attributes of a Midwesterner. It's kind of in the middle. I know Pittsburgh considers itself Northeast, and it is, but I think there's some of that Midwest influence, even some of the Southern influence in the people. I think the people are awesome. I think the fact that it's a city, but it's a city with, I don't know, it's like 90 something unique neighborhoods. And they're unique neighborhoods. If you're from outside of Pittsburgh, you're from Pittsburgh. If you're from inside of Pittsburgh, you're from,
Downtown?
What's that? No, but I mean, you're from your
Downtown?
neighborhood. You know what I mean? Whether that neighborhood is Beaver Falls or that neighborhood is Blawnox or that neighborhood is Wexford. When you're talking to other people in Pittsburgh, that's where you're from. When you're talking to somebody outside of Pittsburgh, you're from Pittsburgh. So there's community pride within Pittsburgh, and then there's community pride of larger Pittsburgh. I love the food here. I'd never had a pierogi in my life till I came here. Halushki, some of the ethnic food. There's a ton of green space here. It was my kids were babies really when I moved here. And they grew up in Pittsburgh. I've told this to people, it's an awesome place to raise a family. I wasn't here when I was 25 and going out and trying to meet people. And I wasn't here at that age. The age I moved here, I can't think of a better place, and there's no place I'd rather be.
Kinger, something you said to me, and I use this example a lot, is you said Pittsburgh's the place that if you're at the grocery store and a line opens up, the person in every line on the side goes, "Hey man, you were here first." And it just happened to me recently because I just got out. So the grocery store is like a big place for me right now. So
it's the best.
I think that's, it's an incredible way to look at it, right? Because I think the people are just genuine, and they handle their emotions kind of.
Yeah. I grew up, Michael, being taught that manners are important, as I just cut you off mid-sentence. Sorry about that. Just a little guilty here.
Sorry. So, you nailed it, Kinger. Good tee up right there for yourself.
And the idea behind manners is to show, really at its heart, is to show thoughtfulness. That's the idea. Sometimes they're empty, you hold the door for somebody or whatever, and it doesn't, but the idea of actually being thoughtfully thinking about the other person. I've never been any place that does that more than Pittsburgh. Never. You're leaving a stadium. I remember the first time I left the stadium doing high school football games, and you're a little behind because you got to sign off. Now you're getting in your car and you're thinking, "Oh man, I'm going to be here all day." Nope. Somebody lets you in. Somebody lets you in.
Mm-hmm.
In no other city does somebody let you in. I mean, yeah, sure, people do, but with the same consistency as Pittsburgh. In other cities, if you're waiting for that register to open up at the grocery store, it's the person who's last in line that jacks it because they have the best vantage point, right? Not in Pittsburgh. I'll take the next person in line. That's what manners are. That's what. Yeah. So, when I say, look, can Pittsburgh be rough around the edges sometimes? Sure, but that comes with a manner, with true manners, with true thoughtfulness for other human beings that I just think it's phenomenal. I think it's great. Another thing I love.
Well said. Hey, absolutely, Stephen. I took some pride into trying to get Kinger with you So we put together 10 questions. I'm just going to randomly throw them out at you of Pittsburgh history. See how good you are. All baseball.
Oh.
Which Pirates pitcher throughout
Why would you do this to me?
No, Steven, you don't have to answer. But if you know it, I want you to beat him. Which Pirates pitcher threw the first no-hitter in franchise history? Or pitcher, excuse me. In what year?
Oh, boy. Nick Maddox?
Yes. Do you know the year?
Okay.
What?
I don't know.
He's got total recall, dude.
I don't know.
I know.
1907. Okay.
1907.
How? So,
That's incredible.
Okay, timeout.
Right? I wasn't alive then.
Pause
right?
this.
I had this for like
upsetting.
the season. I was like, I'm going to bring it out today.
Okay.
Rob went to
I'm
that game when he was 25.
Can we just end there?
So that's not fair.
You'll know the next one.
Second of all,
that was pre-Forbes. That was pre-Forbes Field, by the way. Forbes
It's
Field's
incredible,
opened in
right, Steven?
1909. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he's literally been the
so
voice
it's
of
funny
all
that
these
you wanna do
shows,
this,
and he knows all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows all of
wild.
it. And please ask more questions. But literally, my next question was going to be about the fact of how obsessed you are with Pittsburgh sports history. Like, this is something that
Just
I don't think
sports,
people
right?
understand. You've done so much inside Pirates baseball. I don't know what they call it with the Penguins, but it's and with the Steelers as well, where you've gone in through and you go down into the depths of all the old tapes that there still have not been converted to digital. And your office is always full
They're like this
of
big.
big games from back in the time. Yeah, these huge stacks of tapes as you're doing research for these. And I think it's incredible because I don't know anybody who knows as much as you about the history of Pittsburgh sports. What is it? And Michael, please feel free to throw in as many questions as you want. I'll get them all wrong.
I'll do one
what is
after
it
he
about-
answers every question. Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
What is it
believe
about
me,
the
there are
history of
people that
Pittsburgh
can
sports?
toast me. Yeah, there are people that can toast me in Pittsburgh sports. Believe me.
Yeah,
Bob
let's
Grove
bring
in
them
hockey.
in. Let's
Nobody
see.
knows Bob Labriola in football. There are others, but
Not
I
baseball.
love it. So I was just talking about this with somebody because I went and saw there's a film on at the Science Center right now that's airing right now about football in Pittsburgh and how important it is. It's called The Football Town. It's a really anytime you go see anything at the Science Center. The first one I saw was about people climbing Mount Everest. It's just incredible. They're 50-minute films and they're just fantastic. Anyway, this one was I was with my son Schaefer and we were watching it, and they showed clips of all the great players in Pittsburgh history that came out of Western Pennsylvania. And one of them was Mercury Morris. So Mercury Morris played for the Dolphins. He was a terrific running back in the 1970s. So when I was a kid and I played in my first football league, it was in the mid 70s. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And you could pick whatever jerseys you wanted. I was a running back, so I picked running back numbers. But I had a different jersey for away than I had for home. So my away number was 31. And I mentioned that because that was the number of Jim Taylor, who'd been a running back for the Packers. But Jim Taylor had retired 3 years before. I mean, he had played his last year, I think, with the Saints, and then retired. But even then, I was reading the history of the Green Bay Packers, That's why I picked his number, because as a 9-year-old or 8-year-old, I was reading about the Vince Lombardi teams of the 60s. So that love has always been with me. By the way, the addendum to that story is that I'd been here for about 10 years, and I knew every once in a while I'd get floored by a player who had played in Pittsburgh, a football player. Like everybody knows Mike Ditka and, Joe Montana and Joe Namath and Darrell Revis and all the greats that have played here, Dan Marino, all the greats that have played here over the years. But there's other non-greats or near greats. So Doug Kotar, it's like Doug Kotar, he's a running back for the Giants. I grew up in New York. I watched a lot of Giants games. I was like, Doug Kotar. Well, then about 10 years after I moved here, somebody told me, or I came across, Mercury Morris went to Avonworth High School. I'm like, that was my jersey when I was a little kid, man. My very first football jersey was Mercury Morris, but the other one was the history context with Jim Taylor. So, I just have always been into it. I just always have. I love. I've gone down a rabbit hole. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you guys, but I probably during a rain delay of old boxing footage, and you can find Jack Dempsey fighting. Fighting for the heavyweight championship. You can see him fighting Louis Firpo. So I love the sports of today, but I love the history of it too. And I also love history just in general. I mean, I was an English literature major, but I took enough classes if I'd gone back as a senior and taken Intro to Western Civilization, which was the freshman class I needed to get a history major, I could have been a dual major, but I didn't care about that. So, but I took the last 2.5 years of college, all I took was English literature and history classes. That was it.
Well, I'm in school right now, Kinger, and it is not very fun. I've had to write a lot, which you guys know isn't my favorite thing to do, but it's good for you. Kinger, you talked about reading books and history. I want to get to that because that's kind of how I fell in love with the Negro League and Jack Robinson, everything else. But first, one more question. The first NL MVP for the Pirates. In what year?
In what year?
See, this is
wow.
Do you want?
Well, I mean, it became official. When did it become official? I think it didn't become official to the 30s. I'm trying to remember.
30s, so it had to be before the 30s. It's right before the 30s.
If it was before the 30s, then my guess would be, Honus Wagner won what were considered MVPs at the time, but I don't know if you're counting them, I don't know if they were officially called most valuable player then, but Honus would be my guess.
That's a great guess. It's Paul Wagner. He had 380 in 1927.
Yeah, right. So that's the second guess. But again, it's like I don't think it. I mean, I know the All-Star games. People talk about All-Star votes and that sort of thing. Well, and when you look back at players' careers and you see, okay, he went to X amount of All-Star games. Well, Honus Wagner didn't go to any because they didn't exist. And Paul Wagner was the next. I mean, if it was before 1930, it had to be either Wagner or Paul Wagner, not Lloyd, but Paul Wagner. So
do you know why he was nicknamed Big Poison?
Yes, because one of the stories is that it was a Brooklyn Dodgers. The Brooklyn Dodgers couldn't, the way they pronounced person was poison. Yeah, here's that Big Poison and his little brother Little Poison, which was of course Lloyd. Yeah. So,
I literally was thinking about poison. That would be me. Like, oh yeah, it's Big Poison. Oh no, it's stuck. It's stuck. That would be me. So I thought you guys would get a kick out of that because we always joke around.
No one destroys a baseball like O'Neill Cruz.
That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a Cruz missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
Go back to Honus Wagner. When Cobra won the Hall of Fame, and we've done some of these podcasts where we're trying to build the best Pirate team ever, and digging into Honus Wagner blew me away. I mean, this guy is just behind Bonds when it comes to, the valuation of war. Obviously they had to predate it, use some different understandings, but like this guy was not just good, he was Ohtani of the time. And he was the best of the best of the best. Just talk a little bit about how good he really was.
Well, I think, and in certain eras, there are players who become a little bit forgotten. So when baseball did the all-century team, the top 100 players of all time, Stan Musial was not voted in by the fans. He had to be added. And I think during Stan Musial's career, there was a really strong debate about who was better, Stan Musial or Ted Williams. And Ted Williams, of course, his star ascends. And for some reason, Stan Musial's star dims. I have no idea why that is. Maybe the Boston, New York thing. What's that?
You think it was PR?
Yeah, I mean, not intentional PR, but just, the myth that grows around Ted Williams. And Ted Williams is phenomenal, obviously. He had a higher batting average than Stan Musial, better power hitter than Stan Musial. But again, Stan Musial won 7 batting titles or something, so Stan Musial was like Stan couldn't hit, and he was a better fielder, the better base runner, probably considered the better clubhouse guy for a team. So again, interesting debate there. Wagner and Ty Cobb, same debate, and a lot of people thought Wagner was a better player. As great as Cobb was, and again, the 360 I guess they've moved it down from 367 to 366 as a lifetime average. And it's an eye-popping number, and the 4,000 hits and all the other things he did. Wagner was, what's that? No good?
Yeah, we both.
Not much there.
Yeah, leave him the point.
366. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not that good.
Wagner also won 7 or 8 batting titles. I'm not in baseball season. Give me a month, I'll tell you exactly what it is. But I'm kind of morphing into baseball.
You're literally blowing us away. Stop.
The defensive, the defense. He was considered the best shortstop in the league, the best first baseman in the league. Would have been the best third baseman in the league. They're both of them were great base runners. So when people just sort of blithely say, "Hey, the greatest player in Pirates history was Barry Bonds or Roberto Clemente," it could very well be that that's the case. But Honus Wagner absolutely has to be. If he's not number one, he's if you have the quote unquote Mount Rushmore of Pirates, no doubt he's on there. The question is whether he's the best player of all in Pirates history or not. And I think you can make a strong case that he is the best player in Pirates history.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when you go into the batting cages at PNC Park on the home side, there's a big sign that's all the offenses that Pirates players have gotten throughout history, and the first 10 names are all just Honus Wagner of all the different things that he did in the early.
And it's 380, 370.
It's just Honus
crazy.
13. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I was curious, Rob, about all the research done specifically about the Pirates. What is something that really stands out to you? Maybe something that you didn't expect to find, or something that really was funny or very interesting when going through and researching these stories. I know, more recently, the video was found of the home run that was hit the inning before Mazeroski hit his walk-off home run in Game 7 of the World Series.
Hal
and
Smith.
That home run was never talked about, but the entire team came together to watch that video, and you were there as part
poor
of
Hal
that.
Smith.
And those kind of stories. Yeah. So is there anything that really stands out to you that you remember?
So for people that may not know exactly what Steven's referring to, 1960, the 7th game of the World Series just didn't exist. And so what happened was Bing Crosby was shooting a movie in Europe. He was a part owner of the Pirates. And he said, "Look, I'm not going to be able to watch the game. Tape it for me, and I'll watch it when I come back." And so he got back, and he just never watched it. Didn't need to. Pirates win. And it sat in his vault. Obviously, he passed away in the 1970s. And about 15 years, maybe 20 years or so ago, they were digging through some old vault. Here's something that Bing Crosby owned, and they're going through this vault. And hey, what's this old 2-inch tape? And it's Game 7 of the 1960 World Series, the only thing that existed. So they brought in Bob Costas, hosted it, and they brought in a couple players from the Pirates, a couple players from the Yankees, and showed it at PNC Park. It was phenomenal. I mean, absolutely incredible. 10-9 game. I think there were no walks in the game. No walks or no strike. I can't remember which. Nice. There were no walks or no strikeouts. It was just they were up there to hit. It was the action was constant. It was fun. It was a fun game to watch. But so people might know a little bit about that story. But the one that really blew me away was in 1952. So let me forward to in the 90s. Deion Sanders was playing for both the Braves and the Falcons, and somewhat crazy ostentatiously, the Braves were in the playoffs. And so Deion was practicing for the Falcons and then flying over to Atlanta to play in the game. And, I don't know if it was Deion being ostentatious or just the fact that cameras were there. But there's Deion sprinting across the field, getting in the helicopter, flying over to play the next game. And, oh, what an amazing thing this is. And it is an amazing thing. So
it's like a superhero. That's crazy.
Yeah, in 1952, Dick Groat he was going to play for the Pirates upon graduation from Duke. But he'd also promised his father that he would graduate from Duke. And so Dick was obviously an All-American basketball player at Duke, had finished his eligibility, and was playing as he was finishing up his studies for the Fort Wayne Pistons, a precursor of the Detroit Pistons. And so he missed classes twice. And Duke had a rule, 3 strikes and you're out. So now he can't graduate from Duke, and his father's not going to like that. So think about how times have changed. I mean, today they'd be making millions of dollars. I don't care if you graduate, son, go do, whatever. You
transfer again.
classes later. But Dick's like, oh my, he was terrified. He's like, so he went to the owner of the Pistons and said, I can't play anymore. I can't go to practice. I can't play because if I miss another class, I'll be out. I won't be able to graduate. So the Fort Wayne Pistons chartered him a private plane. He never practiced again, and he flew from Durham, North Carolina to wherever the Pistons were playing. And then after the game, he got back on that charter flight and flew back to Raleigh, Durham, so he wouldn't have to miss any classes. This was 1952, and he never practiced, and he made the all-rookie team in the NBA. And, of course, went on to be a good Pittsburgh Pirate. So I like that story. That's a fun story.
Wow. That's a good one.
I just heard that one, Steven, recently when they put him in the Pirates Hall of Fame, and I was just like, huh? Like that existed? Right?
Yeah.
It's just wow. He's just Pistol Pete and dominating baseball.
Yeah, I think I put it in the story because I think I put it in that package for the Pirates Hall of Fame just because I just was so impressed by it. I mean, that's how widely he was held in regard by the Pistons.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Kinger, I want to talk a little bit about Maz. And you're from Cooperstown. Maybe that's why you have an index full of knowledge in your brain about baseball history. But Maz in today's game probably wouldn't exist. He's a career 667 OPS, defensive wizard guy, right? He probably wouldn't have been a 17-year veteran and maybe even not even gotten that chance in the World Series. Just talk about the game shift and the Hall of Fame debate, because I'm going to give you a ton of credit. You talked about Cobra 7-8 years ago and why he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think you have a really good outlook and you look at it differently. So just talk about him and Sandy Koufax and why that made sense. And then also the whole Maz thing. Are we going to see another Maz get into the Hall of Fame? Because this guy didn't make it with the Riders. He had to get put in by that special class, which is wild.
Yeah. By the way, Dick Groat was instrumental in Maz getting elected to the Hall of Fame. Really worked hard behind the scenes, as did others. The games change.
I learned that from you, Kinger. You see that?
Yeah.
I teed you up right there.
Going back to Honus Wagner, like I believe that the great athletes would have been great athletes in any era. Now, would they have been as consistent? Would the rank and file player from 1912 be as good as today? No, probably not. But think about, Babe Ruth. I brought up this example to you guys. Forbes Field had been around for 25 years. And Babe Ruth, of course, played in the American League, so he never played in Forbes Field. And I believe it was the last home run Babe ever hit. He had a 3-home-run game. He was playing for the Boston Braves. He's broken down. He's old. He's a shell of himself. He's a 200 hitter. And he hit one, became the first guy to ever hit one out of Forbes Field, over the right field, the big pavilion they had there, and completely out of Forbes Field. It had existed for 25 years, and he did that in his last home run. So Willie Stargell did it, I think, 7 times. It was done, I believe, 18 times over the history of Forbes Field. Willie Stargell did it 7 times. How many times and I'm not taking anything away from Willie, who had unbelievable power. How many times does Babe Ruth do that if he's playing there instead of Yankee Stadium, right? In a different era. You see, and I brought up Williams and Musial. Williams and Musial played in an era before the integration of baseball. Obviously, the integration of baseball raised the entire level of play. So Ted Williams, I think he was 41, and he hit 388. 41 years old, playing in a different era of baseball, and he hit 388. Musial hit
post-war
like 340 or 3. I think it was 326, something like that. And Ted Williams last year hit like 326. He's I don't have it anymore. I'm going to retire. So
what do you have? 4 years? 4 years overseas.
Yeah,
4 years overseas
he missed,
too, right?
Both wars. He missed time. The numbers.
Hold on, I gotta go be a Patriot for a minute. It's crazy.
Yeah,
the ace pilot.
It's amazing. So guys, to me, you can't use today's measuring sticks and numbers to go back and judge other players. So Bill Mazeroski is a great example of that. It's a different game. They want that, they might want him to bunt and give up at bats and do these other things and try to hit a ground ball to the right side to move a runner across because, the prevailing feeling was, hey, if we get up 1-0, now they got to score 2 to beat us. And they might not be able to do that against Vern Law. So the game was played differently. Now, wasn't fielded any differently. I mean, he's the greatest fielding defensive second baseman in Major League Baseball history, and that counts for a lot. you take a guy like Parker. Well, his on-base percentage wasn't high enough. You think Chuck Tanner wanted him to walk? Say, go up and swing the bat, Dave. I don't want you walking. Guys, to me, and then there's the argument too of how long do you have to be great to get in the Hall of Fame? And Sandy Koufax was allowed to be great for 5 years, probably the greatest pitcher of all time over that 5-year stretch. And then the arm injuries caught up with him. He was 30, and that was it. And he quit at his peak. So we never saw the struggles late in the career. We never saw the 7-11 record. We never saw what Albert Pujols did at the end of his career. I mean, at one time, 10 years into his career, Albert Pujols is a .330 lifetime hitter with all that power.
Yeah.
10 years into his career, and then he wound up below 300. So we never saw that with Sandy Koufax. So my question was, and I know Sandy Koufax was the greatest, maybe the greatest of all time. Why didn't Tony Oliva get that grace? He was unbelievable for 9 seasons for the Twins. Incredible. All-star every single season, Gold Glover, didn't steal a lot of bases because they didn't ask him to. He gets knee trouble, has to hang it up. 9 great years isn't good enough to get you in when he's widely acknowledged as the best hitter in the American League. That's not long enough. Dave Parker, Dick Allen. I think people should take a long look at Don Mattingly's career. Even though I didn't grow up a Yankees fan, it's hard for me to be pro Yankees. But I mean, he was great for a short period of time until his back cost him his career. So I don't know why it's good enough for one person and not good enough for somebody else. And I understand Koufax is at a different level than anybody else I've mentioned. He's probably the greatest left-handed pitcher of all time. Still, I think there's a lot of ways to evaluate the Hall of Fame. And I think, Dave Parker was great for 5 years. He was the best player in baseball for 5 years. And then he had pop-up great years after that. And why didn't he have more great years? Because he played on artificial turf with a bad knee. And by the way, those numbers, 2,700 hits, 290 batting average, 2 batting crowns, an MVP, great postseason.
And he played every
Silver
day.
Slugger awards. There's enough there, man. There's enough there
no
for him to be in the Hall of Fame years ago. Same with Dick Allen. I'm glad he finally got in. And I'm glad Tony Oliva got it. I'm glad Dave Parker learned that he was a Hall of Famer before he passed, even though he wasn't able to make it for the ceremony. And I'm glad Tony Oliva was still alive when he got the nod into the Hall of Fame. I think it's a shame that those guys weren't honored sooner, but I'm glad they're in the Hall of Fame. But to your point, you have to evaluate the player in the era in which he played because the game was played differently.
Yeah, I like Bill Mazeroski. Maz's opening line in his Hall of Fame acceptance speech was, "I believe that defense should be in the Hall of Fame." Right? I mean, that's what he did, and it makes sense. Like it's a whole side of baseball that is, especially today, not valued nearly as much as the offensive side. I am curious if that's eventually going to swing back around. Baseball goes in circles, so I'm curious if it will. But I want to go a little bit more modern, Rob. I'm going to throw a quick test quiz at you because I know you're going to remember it.
Yes.
And this is something that you
guys are killing me with these quizzes.
About.
All right,
you're good.
What was the first game you did play-by-play for the Pirates, and what was the lineup?
Oh, the whole lineup?
It was
no, just give me general idea.
I think he can do it.
Here's what I can tell you. No, I can't. I can tell you it was. By the way, it is amazing when I'm involved in a game how little I remember of it. It really is. Some people
black
have
out.
incredible.
I can see that.
Some people have incredible recall. Others, like me, after when it's over with, it becomes a blur. And I have to find myself refreshing myself. Like if you gave me 2 minutes, I could probably tell you, oh yeah, okay. I will tell you this. It was in Cleveland. Bob Walk was the color guy. And the Pirates lost 2-1 and they had a runner thrown out at home plate. That's what I remember from that game. I don't remember who pitched. I don't remember anything else about, but I do remember that
year?
I believe it was in 2010, but I could be wrong about that.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Can
pretty
you cross-check
good,
me?
I
you have the information? I could have made it up.
No, I don't. I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, I could have made it up. I didn't.
Oh, then you're right.
You
Kinger, then you're right. Hold on. What's that, New York?
Yeah, the sun the rays
right?
slanted in. No, that's all I remember.
I'm not here to fact check you, Rob. I'm here to get you to sound good.
It
So
sounded
as you
convincing.
went through and you did more games, right? You've done more play-by-play games. Now, what is a moment that really stood out to you? I know that you have a few because we've talked about it before, but what's something that's really stood out to you doing play-by-play as a Pirates?
So I'll tell you two things that happened in games that I thought, because I was I filled in for Bill Hillgrove for 4 games, and I'm obviously a fill-in for the real play-by-play guys, and so I don't really want anything that's going to take away from anything they might be able to do. Like, I would feel guilty if I called a no-hitter. I'd be like, doesn't Greg Brown or Joe Block sitting at home being like, man, I should be calling that game, So I don't want to be that guy. So when I was in, John Wayner and I were in Miami, and this, I can't remember what year it was, but the Pirates had, they had Melanson, they had Grilly, they had that great bullpen. It was a Friday the 13th, I think it was June, and I'm looking through the game notes during the commercial. The Pirates are up like 5 runs going into the 9th inning, and I said to John Wayner, who's calling the game with me, I said, John, if the Pirates hang on and win this game, and they had the unbelievable bullpen, remember that, they'll have broken a string of losing 10 straight games on Friday the 13th, right? I said it, and I'm like, I know that somebody out there is going to be like, why did he say that? But I'm like, come on, with this bullpen, seriously. And I wasn't on Twitter or anything at the time. But sure enough, the Marlins tied it. And John's like, by the way, you're getting half killed and half defended here on Twitter. Half the people are like, you jinxed, and the other half the people are like, there's nothing he can do up in that booth that's going to influence the game. So I'm like, uh-oh. So now they better win. Right now I'm like doubly concerned. And in extra innings, I think it was the 10th, but it might have been deeper than that, Gregory Polanco hit his first home run. Now, for fans that weren't around for when Polanco came up, when he came up, he was the 5th or 6th ranked prospect in baseball. And, Starling Marte had success, and he's coming out of the Latin American program for the Pirates. And people were like, I remember we had a Pirates charity bag night, and the first jersey he wore went for like thousands of dollars. People were like, this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And I'm like, did I just call his first home run ever? Now it's like they're going to,
that's cool.
Years from now, they're going to be doing the retrospective on Polanco's career, and my voice is going to be on there, and it's not going to be Greg Brown or I think Tim Neverett was the other play-by-play guy at the time, but which was similar. The Steelers drafted Chase Claypool, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame, and he looked unbelievable, and everyone thought he was going to be a superstar. And Ben Roethlisberger hit him for a long touchdown pass up the left side. No fans, and I think that was a COVID year. No fans in the stands. And Claypool ran it in for a touchdown. And I was like, did I just call the first? Where's Bill? Bill's going to be like, I should have called his first touchdown. But as it turned out, Claypool didn't kind of live up to the hype, nor did Polanco. So that's something I remember, though. That was memorable, that kind of whole experience. And by the way, I've had the opportunity to call 2 Paul Skeens games. And
yes, you have.
Well, I think we all feel the same way about Paul Skeens. We haven't seen his like before, and we ain't going to see it anytime soon.
No, he's a special breed of talent. Speaking of, here's another question for you. Who started at shortstop 1960 World Series Championship Pirates? He also won the MVP in the same season.
Oh, Dick Groat, come on.
Yeah.
Now,
I gave you a gimme.
But he was, so he got it's amazing he won MVP because there were a few weeks left in the season, and he got hit on his wrist and got injured, and so he played the World Series injured, and
right, Steven? People are going to be mind-boggled that he's just recalling this.
You just know everything, man. You just
so
Dick
much.
Dick Schofield, who's I think his
Dick
son,
Schofield, yep,
maybe, and grandson both played in the major leagues. Ducky Schofield wound up playing down the stretch.
Schofield was one of my coaches.
And really, really good player. And actually, Dick Groat was convinced that their look of Dick Schofield when he was injured emboldened them to trade him a couple years later. And, of course, Dick went on to win another World Series with the Cardinals. After that trade.
Wow, that's really good.
You're absolutely wild. Something else I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and touch. You kind of got your dream job. Obviously it's with us, but we don't want to force you to say that. We'll make sure that the Steelers know you got your dream job. Kinger, I would love for you to explain. You transitioned so well. So I used to watch you do the Penguins and then baseball, and somehow you do the Penguins and baseball all at the same time. Last year, I saw something I've never seen. I saw you pull out a wad. It was a piece of paper that was literally disintegrated, and it had all the names.
Yeah,
on it. Like, Kinger, what is
like
that?
The Buffalo Bills.
We were doing our pregame routine. We're in getting our war paint on in the bathroom, and you're pulling this out, doing your makeup. You're looking at it. I'm like, what is that, Kinger? And there's water everywhere. Somehow you missed it. I'm just like, that guy's a different breed. Just a different breed. Old school, but new school, but you just get it done. How do you do that? Like, that's an incredible thing, because you're thinking about like, how do you pronounce these guys' names? There's 80 players on a football team, and then you literally called a Pirates game the next week and then came back and did the play-by-play. It was
that was
remarkable.
fun. I forgot about that. I drove down to Baltimore and did an Orioles game.
I was sweating for you. Like, I was like,
let me just say this, man. It's not like, it's not like I did thoracic outlet surgery and then I was like, oh, by the way, there's a spot in your kidney. Let me get that. You know what I mean? And they'd call it a specialist for somebody else.
In the broadcaster game you did.
Come on, it's still sports. You know what I mean? One of the things, and by the way, my a lot of my memories with my kids are waiting in line in Kennywood for a ride, and my reaching into my pocket and pulling out what were then high school. They were high school rosters. Right? I was getting ready for the Friday night game with Craig Wolfley that week. One of the things though that I learned in school, and it took me a while to learn this, was that the earlier you start, the better off you are. Shocking. Teachers tell you that your
Still
whole
trying
life.
to learn that.
Hey, if you go home and study and kind of pay attention in class, and then do a little more study, and then do a little more study, you'll not only remember the test this Saturday, but like then you get to college, when you get to the final, you're reviewing that material. You're not, oh my gosh, it's the night before. Right now I got to cram all this information in, which never works. So I just think that it's early prep work. You know what I mean? So a lot of that stuff is just me trying to keep on top of it and keep doing it. And, there's different ways you can do it. You're out walking your dog, got Stella on the leash. She doesn't care as much as my kids might have at Kennywood if I'm checking the rosters, as long as I clean up her poop. So I think that
just don't use that piece of paper.
Don't use the paper. Put that in the other pocket. It's just a matter of like staying on top of it, really. You know what I mean? Just a matter of continuing to do it and loving doing it. People are like, hey, what's your favorite part of calling play-by-play? And it's really all of it. I mean, I love actually calling it, but I love doing the prep work. I don't know if this is kind of some kind of number, gooberness, going back to being an English literature major. You said, I think without calling us goobers, I think you might have called us goobers earlier, Michael, but, being an English literature major, but yeah. I like memorizing rosters. I enjoy it. I like doing it. There's nothing in the job that I don't like. And so, it's not a chore, it's fun and it's fresh and it stays that way.
It's awesome.
Okay. We have a few more minutes here because, we could make we literally do this. We do this for an hour pregame and postgame.
Yes.
We
got to finish with the game, Steven.
So you'll see us. But Rob, I want to quickly touch on, before I let you go, the Pirates of this season. There's been a lot of changes, and I think that it's easy to knock on what the Pirates have done player acquisition wise, and of course we will talk about that the entire season. But I know you as a baseball traditionalist, a purist, and I feel that way in a lot of ways. I think one of the big things that we can't forget this year is the amazing overhaul of the coaching staff. Don Kelly bringing in guys that he wants.
Yes.
Ryan Murphy, Thomas Whitsett as the new pitching crew, Christopher Negron as the as the bench coach, and Tony Beasley as the third base coach. Going into last year, the whole talk was Pirates winning in the margins. That was the whole thing. This year, that has not been mentioned a single time. Now we're just going to go out and win. Do you think that the coaching staff can help a team really not only find their identity, but find that confidence to push them forward? We still need coaches. If we didn't need coaches as players, we wouldn't have them. They wouldn't exist, but they're still there for a reason. Do you think that the Pirates are going into this year with a different mentality, not only because of the new players, but also because of this new coaching staff?
So I would throw that back
Great
at you. Like
question.
I think that's a better question for the former players. I mean, and I do believe the Pirates have. I'm greedy. I still wish Bednar was here because I would feel I
Yeah.
feel like that bullpen could be the best in the league, but it
Oh,
still might be because Dennis Santana.
yeah. We got-
Dennis Santana's first heartbeat was when the show began, and now 54 minutes later, his second heartbeat might be coming. I mean, he's unbelievable, that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've added they've got a lot of talent down in the bullpen. I think some of the starters will be pushed down there. I think their rotation has a chance to be outstanding. I mean, I think just seeing guys like Clevenger pitch well this spring, you wonder now if that pushes some guys back to AAA in a good way. I do think that the roster is considerably better. Talked about defense earlier. We'll see if that's gonna hold up around the diamond. If I'm looking at the team, that might be my biggest concern right now. I think they're gonna hit. I know they're gonna get excellent starting pitching. As much as you can about something that hasn't happened yet. I think the bullpen's going to be excellent, and I also think that they're getting this push up from the lower minors, and they're going to have also some guys that they've acquired. Flores in the Bednar trade, Garcia. If these guys don't make the roster, if say a Nick York doesn't make the roster, Connor Griffin, we'll see if he makes the roster. And I think we've seen some of these pitchers are probably going to get pushed down. I don't know if Clevenger means Hunter Barco starts in AAA. I don't know. I don't know what the case is going to be. I don't know how the roster is going to look. But I think that they not only have a much better 26-man roster, but they've got really good depth. And then even lurking behind that, Wilmer Flores, Antoine Kelly, who's the right, Dotel. These guys have got good stuff.
Wilbur Dotel, yeah.
Good stuff,
They've got good stuff, and they're coming too. And I think, I'm hopeful that this is the 2013 of this cycle. Because remember, 2012 was a rough off season for the Pirates. There was all the negative talk about the development staff and all that other stuff. And, should Neil Huntington still be here? And, do they need to clean house? And then all of a sudden, 3-year run, right? Boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that this is that year. There's been some questions, obviously, from media people. What's the direction of the team? Where are they? As I look at this and take a step back, I'm hoping this is that 2013 type of season where they're ready to start putting it together. Because if they are, it's going to be good for a while because they got a lot of good young players and more waiting in the wings.
And Steven, I'm going to do a tease. If you want to know what me and Steven think about the coaching staff,
yes,
stay
I do.
tuned for the first pre and post game show when we do that. Steven, I want to finish this out with a lightning round with Kinger. So we don't have time to play the lineup game. We'll do that next time.
More questions.
We're going to do a lightning.
All right.
This could be, it's not going to be history.
Okay.
Hey, this is all about now, Steven. All right, I'll start us off.
Oh,
Does a Pirate win the Rookie of the Year? Yes or no? And is it Bubba or is it Griffin?
I'll start.
They're the
I'm
two
going to
top favorites
say
in my mind.
yes. Yeah, I'm going to say
You don't
yes,
answer 'em.
and I'm
Kinger
going to
answers
say
them.
Connor Griffin. I'm
Yes,
not letting
agreed,
Kinger
agreed.
go first because he's going to give.
I don't have any issue
I'm
with
going to
that.
say yes, Connor Griffin.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
it.
me too.
I think
Good
he's
call.
not
Sounds
going to
good to me.
start with the team. I think he's going to be May,
I
and
think
he's
he's
going to do
gonna
the same
start
thing
with the
Paul
team.
Skeens did.
I think he's going to start the team, guys. That was my next question, but
All right, I'd
so
love
what do
to.
you think, Kinger?
Look, I think he's on a legit tryout, and I think the next couple of weeks are gonna tell that story. Like I think he's being given the opportunity to be the Pirates starting shortstop. I think that's what we're seeing right
Me
now.
too.
And I think if he finishes up the spring in good, solid fashion, I think he's in the low 200s right now. If it stays there, if it gets down to the one, below 200, maybe you don't start him. You let him get some time, and then you bring him up a little bit later. But then becomes the question of, how are you thinking about future teams? Are you waiting till June to bring him up, or are you bringing him up in May, and then risk losing a year of service time? Because if you're going to do that, then you might as well start him at the beginning of the season. So I'm sure those are some of the questions they're mulling over right now.
He's
So I'll
1
give you
for
my
2 with a
cents.
double and an RBI today against Team Columbia as well.
What is
So,
he?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
he-
All right. Yeah.
1 for
He's
2, double
also
RBI.
averaging like 98 off the bat right now, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
In spring.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to try to sign him. If they sign him, I think that gives them a chance to send him down because he's such a better athlete than anybody else we have in the infield. He just stands out.
Right.
He just looks like an avatar out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they create a PR game around it if he does anything. If he stays healthy,
Well,
everybody's assuming this guy's going to the big leagues. And two, after the offseason, you're Ben Sherrington, you're looking at that super freak. You're like, how do I not put him there? But that leads to my next
Yeah.
question for you guys.
Okay. And by the
Nick
way,
Gonzalez?
Connor Griffin, but I just say real quick, I do hope they sign him to that would be such exciting news.
Me too.
But remember, and I don't want to, I got to be careful. I've always been careful with Skeens. You guys know how I feel about Skeens. I just, and he's long enough. Now that he's won the Cy Young. I mean, I just think I've never seen anybody like him. But Connor Griffin was, like, let's put him out in center field and then let's ease him in and we'll try him for a few games at shortstop. Then they see him at shortstop. They're like, he's not going anywhere. He's staying right here at shortstop. That's crazy how good that. I mean, it was like that too. Just crazy how good he is. Yeah,
he's blowing my mind, guys. Now Nick Gonzalez, for me, if he doesn't start at shortstop, I'm sending him to AAA. Yes or no?
No.
No, I think he's too
I'm putting
valuable
him at
on
third
the bench.
base. I'm trying to find at bats for him. Playing him a little bit at shortstop. I'm bouncing him around. He's having a great spring too. So
Great
I don't
spring.
want to send him down after having a great spring either. So I'm finding.
I just didn't want him to be a bench player because he's the guy that steps into any role. If anybody gets hurt, if Lowe gets hurt, he's at second.
But
if
also
gets
the
hurt,
point
he's
of
at
that,
third.
I'm not looking. Yeah, I haven't looked at his stats of pinch hitting, but his approach to hitting usually
It does
works
fit.
in
That's true.
pinch hitting.
Yep.
So I wouldn't mind seeing him in more of a bench role if that's what is required. If Connor Griffin comes up at the beginning of the season and you got Triolo and Gonzalez kind of switching back at third base, you want one of them to have that role and let him go with it. And so then it becomes who's your number one, right? Also, Triolo can play literally every other position on the diamond except catcher, I guess. So that helps him.
And this is why it's so awesome working with these guys, because we can talk through this. And Steven brought up a perspective I wasn't thinking about. And King will do the same thing. He won't give himself credit for that, but he's a baseball wizard. And that's what's so fun about working with you guys. But yeah, I think you need to put Nick Gonzalez in left and right. And then if you can't afford Triolo next year, you have someone to step right in. That's a really valid point. All right, Steven, your question. We'll do two more. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I don't have any with me right now. How about Rob? How about this? Who is the fifth starter for you right now?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, I think, again, I don't know what kind of deal Clevenger is on. And I think he had a quote saying, I love to pitch, and I don't care if I'm in AAA or the majors. He's looked phenomenal. I mean, he looks fantastic. Awesome. A veteran guy like that as my fifth starter might be good. I mean, Urquidy, the guy they got from Houston, Urquidy,
yeah.
Is it
Urquidy?
I'm going to go R, like a pirate.
So he said, look, I'll start, I'll relieve. He could be your long guy and your sixth starter if you need one. That would move Majinski back to the bullpen, where I think he could just be not that he can't be a starter and he's working on a changeup, but I think he could be an absolute force in the bullpen. This, in spring training, this changes from start to start. If you're Clevenger, because you're from the outside and they've got guys they like internally, you're 2 bad starts away from being sent to AAA. Hey, will you accept an assignment? No, I want to be a free, whatever the deal is. As we sit here right now on March 3rd, I'd be leaning toward Clevenger. 3 weeks from now, I might not be leaning toward Clevenger.
Steven?
I'm going to give you a list of a few guys. I want you to tell me who you think will be on the Major League roster first.
Thomas you were going to answer that question.
Antoine Kelly, Brandon Bidois, as Merlin Valdez.
I got mine.
Bidois.
Yep.
I think that
I agree.
I think that, as a bullpen arm early, I think, I haven't seen Kelly yet. I can't wait. I've been watching, looking at the velo readings and stuff like that. He throws really hard. We talked about him last year, guys, just how dominant he was and really under the radar at Double A. I mean, he had a great season. But usually, shorter right-handers usually profile out of the bullpen. So I think he might eventually be a bullpen guy. Valdez, I think he might need one more full season of time. And Harrington, I think, Harrington, he needs a good season in AAA. I think he needs to prove that he's worthy of competing for that bullpen spot or rotation spot. He didn't have a great season a year ago, but you could tell they really liked him by the fact that they brought him up. And so if he can adjust, I think because this stuff isn't overwhelming, it might take him longer to adjust from level to level. That doesn't mean he can't be a quality pitcher, though. So if you're just asking me first, I would say Bidwell, because generally they would have a need for a reliever probably quicker than anything else.
Okay, Kinger.
I also think Bidwell's opening the team.
Yeah,
completely agree.
I think that's a possibility. But again, he could be at the mercy of, okay, so now Clevenger's the fifth starter. Now you move Urquidy to the bullpen, and so that takes a spot away, And then do you want to carry another left-hander? Questions like that could wind up forcing him to AAA, where he really, listen, a month in AAA is not gonna hurt him either. So, but it would be exciting to see him. I mean, he was. I encourage people, if you do not know who we're talking about, to go look at his numbers last year. They were ridiculously good.
And guys, I love a good psychopath, and this guy needs a straitjacket when he's on the mound. So
I like it.
Watch him pitch. He's an Aussie. He's going to say a lot of foul words out there, but he's talking to himself. It's the demons inside his head.
But he'll be saying it with an Australian accent, so it'll be great, right?
Oh, I'll never forget. It happened to me in the big leagues, and I was like, was it Balfour or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
He's yelling at me like, what did I do? And he's just like, oh, not you, and just walked back, stomped away. He punched my ticket. I was terrified. All right, I'm going to go to O'Neal Cruz. I think this is the year he puts it all together. I heard somebody say he could be a 30-30, 40-30 guy. I do think he's going to be a 30-30 guy. And I do think he's going to be a plus defender. I was going to say he was going to win a Gold Glove possibly this year, but with us moving the guys out in the outfield, I think it's going to be really tough. He's still going to have a hard time communicating how freakish he is with two guys that are Brian Reynolds went back out of position, and then O'Hearn's going to play right field. He's only really known left. I do like that he's on the same side of the diamond. O'Neal Cruz, is this the year he becomes what we all know he can be?
I think he takes a big step in that direction. Whether he reaches his peak or not, or whether he'll ever reach his peak, I don't know. But I do think that one of the things that people probably maybe aren't factoring in quite enough, maybe they are, but I certainly factor in, is I think both he and Brian Reynolds are going to have good years because they've got better players
people
around
them. Yes.
Yeah, I mean they don't have to do it all themselves, and so the way Horwitz finished up last year, I think he seems like he's going to be a plus offensive player for you. And then you have, you bring up Lau, you get O'Hearn. I mean, the pieces that they've added to this team, Ozuna, guys that can come in and spell and help you out, Magnum and other guys that can do that. I just think that the guys that are already here that either had down years or maybe weren't as productive as you might think. Maybe Nick Gonzalez is a guy like that too. But in Cruz in specific, I think this takes a weight off his shoulders. Ozuna is there for him as well if he needs a sounding board. Yeah, I think all these additions, if I'm going to pick out one guy that's going to be helped most by the Pirates individually, statistic-wise, by the additions in the offseason, it would be O'Neal Cruz.
I love it. I
agree with that.
Prove that fact.
Yeah.
Him and Brian Reynolds are going to take a huge leap forward because of those additions, because it balances our lineup. I think you nailed it right there.
Agreed.
One last thing. I just want to say there's a big difference in between being a guy who wants to come up in the big situation in a game and being the guy that feels like you have to be the one up in a big situation in a game.
Well said.
It opens up a lot of relaxed feelings and actually feeling comfortable sending it to the next guy in the lineup, sending it to the next guy. We got a lot of that this year. All right, we're going to have to cut ourselves off because, like I said, we got 100 games of this coming up here really soon. We're going to be talking Pirates baseball all season. Thank you for joining us here on Bucs Bounty. Rob King, the best, our man, Father Rob. So happy to have you with us, man. Can't wait to see you in just a few weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Anyway,
that's
follow us at Bucs
by the way,
Bounty.
Oh, I was going to say that's the thump thump. The noise you hear, the thump 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 thump, that's Hannah Mears, coining the Father Rob thing.
Oh yeah,
thump thump. Oh,
we all need
looking
a dad.
forward to Hannah. Hannah's
you're like my brother.
Doing a great job too.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here on Bucs Bounty. Catch us every week. We'll be back again for another episode next week. Thanks, Rob, for joining us, and we will see you in 7 days.